The concrete floors of the county animal shelter were cold, and the air was a constant cacophony of desperate barks and lonely whines. In cage number 34, there was a dog named Brutus. He was a pit bull mix with a scarred muzzle and eyes that held a defensive fire. His kennel card was a death sentence. It read, aggressive, unpredictable, not suitable for adoption. Every time a potential adopter walked past, Brutus would erupt. He would hurl his powerful body against the chain-link door, snarling, his teeth bared. Families would recoil, pulling their children close. Volunteers were wary of him. He was labeled a lost cause, his time ticking down on the euthanasia list. Everyone saw a monster. Everyone except Sarah. Sarah was a new volunteer, a quiet college student who believed no animal was truly a lost cause. She was told to stay away from cage 34, but something drew her to the tormented dog. She didn't see aggression. She saw sheer absolute terror. His attacks weren't offensive, they were defensive. He was trying to make himself look as scary as possible to keep the world at bay. She decided to make Brutus her personal project. She would sit on the floor just outside his kennel, not looking at him, just talking to him in a soft, calm voice. She'd read her textbooks aloud. For days, he continued his ferocious display. But slowly, a change began. The lunging became less frequent. The growls softened. He started watching her, his head cocked, a flicker of curiosity in his guarded eyes. One afternoon, she noticed something odd. As another volunteer walked a different dog down the corridor, Brutus didn't lunge at the person. He lunged in the direction of the other dog, his focus absolute. And behind his frantic barks, Sarah heard another sound from his kennel, a tiny, almost inaudible whimper. Her blood ran cold. The shelter staff had inspected his kennel. There was nowhere to hide, yet she had heard it. That night, she couldn't sleep. The memory of that tiny, terrified sound haunted her. The next day, she arrived with a new plan. She got permission to be the one to clean his kennel, a task no one wanted. The head kennel master, a weary man named Dave, stood guard at the door, a catchpole in hand, just in case. "Be careful, kid, he's a biter." Sarah entered the kennel slowly, her heart pounding. Brutus backed into the corner, a low growl rumbling in his chest. But he didn't charge. She ignored him, moving slowly, cleaning his water bowl. As she reached for his thin bedding, the growling intensified. He stood over the worn-out blanket, planting his feet, shielding it with his body. He was trembling, but he wouldn't move. He wasn't guarding his space. He was guarding the blanket. "It's okay, boy," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm not going to hurt you." Very, very slowly, she reached a hand out, not towards him, but towards the edge of the blanket. And then she saw a flicker of movement underneath it. Gently, she lifted a corner. Huddled underneath, shivering uncontrollably, was a tiny, scrawny Chihuahua mix. It was skeletal, its eyes wide with a terror so profound it seemed to have frozen it in place. The little dog let out another pathetic whimper. Dave, watching from the doorway, gasped. What in the world? The entire story clicked into place in Sarah's mind. The two dogs must have been dumped together. In the chaos of intake, the tiny dog must have hidden itself in the bedding, unnoticed. And Brutus, this dog that everyone had condemned as a vicious monster, had spent every ounce of his energy, every moment of his terrifying ordeal, protecting this tiny, fragile creature. His aggression wasn't random. It was a calculated, desperate shield. He lunged at people to keep them away from his hidden friend. He snarled at other dogs to ward off any potential threat. He had made himself a monster to be a guardian angel. He had been willing to be seen as unlovable and unadoptable, to face death itself, just to keep his tiny companion safe. Wordlessly, Sarah backed out of the kennel. Dave gently coaxed the Chihuahua out. The little dog, which they named Pixie, was rushed to the vet, severely dehydrated and malnourished but alive. When Brutus was brought back to his kennel, now alone, he didn't snarl or lunge. He paced frantically, whining, looking for his friend. The shelter staff, their hearts broken and full of remorse, placed Pixie in the adjoining kennel as she recovered. The two dogs would press themselves against the chain-link fence that separated them, finding comfort in each other's presence. Brutus's aggression vanished completely, replaced by a gentle, worried demeanor. The story of Brutus and Pixie spread like wildfire. They were no longer Cage 34 and a hidden stray. They were a testament to a loyalty that defied explanation. They were adopted together by a family who had been moved to tears by their story. Brutus, the monster, spent the rest of his days playing gently with his tiny best friend in a sunny green yard, his past as a fearsome guardian finally behind him. Sometimes, what we perceive as aggression is actually a desperate act of love. And sometimes, the most heroic protectors are the ones the world has already condemned, silently carrying the weight of someone else's fear.